Good morning, I'm Earth Dr. Reese Halter, and you're listening to Earthcast, SOS.com. A listener emailed me with a question of just how bad is the climate crisis in Alaska. Well, on Friday we learned that Pacific walruses came ashore on the 23rd of August, the earliest ever recorded, because ice, what they use to rest upon and feed their young, is melting that quickly. The spruce bark beetles have decimated Alaska's forests. At least 8 million acres have been laid to waste over the past 15 years. The beetles have sped up their life cycle by 100% because of the warmth and drought-stressed trees. Once upon a time, the far north forests were limited by frigid temperatures. But not today. Moisture stress and droughts prevail. And so, forests have, in many cases, stopped growing. What does that actually mean, stopped growing? Well, instead of these magnificent trees sucking carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, they're now contributing more carbon dioxide than they're removing. In the first decade of this 21st century, Alaska experienced 4 times more late-season wildfires than the previous half-century. 30 million acres burned from 2000 to 2010. My colleagues predict that wildfires in Alaska will increase by at least 200, but perhaps by as much as 300% over the next 50 years. This year, by the way, Alaska experienced the biggest single-day wildfire of over 300,000 acres. Drying wetlands in Alaska that are burning are now releasing a couple hundred years' worth of accumulated mercury from burning coal globally that has been sitting on the forest floors in one toxic puff. These forests don't usually burn. It's way too wet. And that mercury, which is in the form of methylmercury, is winding up in everything, from rivers to lakes to the ocean, from grizzlies to polar bears, from salmon to shellfish, and it is toxic. When it gets in the human body, it attacks the central nervous system and toxifies our livers. It causes fatigue, and when we eat it, mercury biomagnifies from the food into our bodies by over 100,000 times. Alaska's temperatures, especially in the winter, have increased by 6.3 degrees Fahrenheit since the 1960s. Alaska's glaciers are losing 75 billion tons of ice a year. Most of it's from the land, so Alaska is in fact contributing to global sea level rise. The Bering Strait is the most acidic saltwater on the globe. The Bering Strait, by the way, is Alaska's entrance point to the Arctic Ocean. The Bering Strait is colder and less salty, and so shell-building creatures like clams or crabs or lobsters cannot live in these conditions because the acidic waters melt their shells. The Beaufort Sea is now also too acidic for shellfish to make a living. The Chukchi Sea, which sits right next to the Beaufort Sea, is becoming too acidic. Algal blooms are now appearing on both seas, choking sea life. Those blooms are nothing, ladies and gentlemen, compared to the mother of all blooms stretching from Alaska to the bottom of Baja California, Mexico now, and it's been there since early May. The current North Pacific algal bloom is so toxic that levels of lethal domoic acid produced by phytoplankton that loves these warm waters is 30 times greater than my colleagues have ever recorded. The toxic algal bloom has been implicated in the death of at least 25 humpback and fins in Alaska and British Columbia. Drilling in the Chukchi Sea is madness. Alaska and its great land and water ecosystems are unraveling because of burning, heat-trapping fossil fuels. It's time to end all fossil fuel subsidies of $5.6 trillion globally annually and save nature now. #love is the solution. For those that are curious on Alaska's forests and the spruce beetles, I urge you to have a read of The Insatiable Bark Beetle. You can find it at ellabirdbooks.org. Earthcast SOS is brought to you by the Okra Project. I'm Earth Dr. Reese Halter, reminding you to protect our planet.